Wouldn't it be incredible if we could access the content available in all the books out there? How much time do you need to read a book anyway? A week? A month? That is quite a bit of time. And this is often because books are filled with a bunch of fluff that surrounds only a few key ideas. So in this lecture, we will explore prompts for ChatGPT that will help us identify these key points in any book, significantly reducing the time required to access but also to utilize the information contained in these books. My goal for this lecture is to show you how to use ChatGPT to quickly summarize key ideas and takeaways from books, but also help you digest the knowledge from these books. Here are a few things the lecture will cover. We'll see how to get summary from any book in our desired length and format. We'll also go deeper with follow-up prompts and explore important concepts and chapters from these books. We'll have ChatGPT explain how to apply the knowledge contained in the books to specific situations. And finally, we'll ask for real-life applications of the main teachings of the books. All right, guys, I am here in ChatGPT and I'm using the 3.5 version, though I have access to GPT-4. But for the sake of this course and using something everybody has access to, I'm going to be using 3.5. All right, so my first prompt in order to learn from books is going to be this one right here. Do you know the book Die with Zero by Bill Perkins? Okay, so I'm going to just check if ChatGPT knows about that book. And immediately, yes, Die with Zero is a book by Bill Perkins, published in 2020. In the book, Perkins challenges the traditional notion of saving all of one's money for retirement and purposes a different approach to financial planning. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the good news is that ChatGPT knows the book. So my kind of like prepping, my priming of ChatGPT is complete. Now I can start asking questions about the book. And I'm going to be using this prompt right here to ask my first question. Please summarize the main ideas and key insights from the book. Use formatting to highlight each insight and follow with a one-paragraph explanation of that idea. Do not skip any important ideas from the book. All right, so here I'm just simply asking ChatGPT to summarize the main ideas and to clearly highlight them by using formatting. So very quickly, ChatGPT gives me here 6 bullet points or 6 main ideas, key ideas, followed by their one paragraph explanation. Okay, so rethinking retirement planning, the importance of time allocation, the concept of lifespan financial planning, maximizing happiness units over lifetime, re-evaluating legacy planning, creating a personalized financial blueprint. All right, so for having read the book, Die with Zero, I could say that these are indeed some of the key ideas. Now, I couldn't say if these are all or the most important key ideas from the book, but definitely these are ideas that are important for the book. So followed by these main ideas, these key ideas, is a little paragraph. So in traditional retirement planning, the focus is on saving as much money as possible to ensure financial security in old age. Perkins challenges this approach by suggesting that people should consider spending more of their money earlier in life to maximize enjoyment and experiences while they are younger and healthier. So this summarizes the book pretty well already, this first paragraph right here. I'm not going to read all the different main idea explanations here, but I just wanted to show you that this is a very simple way to scan through a book which is over 200 pages long. I read the entire book. It took me about 2 weeks to read this book. Normal pace, I was reading 20 some pages per day. But yeah, so I could just really go through the entire book and its main ideas in what? In 10 minutes if I read this and take time to really digest this information. All right, so this is great. I can summarize book and have an overview of what's inside of them very quickly, but how can I go deeper? Like, what can I do? How can I leverage this information? This next prompt right here, let me show it to you. Sticking only to what's written in the book, what are some actions we can take to maximize happiness units over a lifetime? All right, so this prompt is basically trying to dig deeper on point number 4 from the previous answer right here, maximizing happiness unit over a lifetime. If you're not completely clear what that means, well, I can try force ChatGPT to use only the knowledge contained in the book, what's written in the book, to explain that to me. Okay, so here we are. I have here 8 different bullet points, again, still with a little bit of explanation for each of them, giving us some actions we can take to maximize happiness units over our lifetimes. Okay, so the first one, prioritize experiences over material possessions, invest in learning and growth, cultivate meaningful relationships, practice gratitude and mindfulness, set meaningful goals and pursue them, embrace adventure and exploration, practice self-care and well-being, give back and make a positive impact. So these are 8 different concepts or actions that are actually described in the book, not exactly in those terms, but I think what ChatGPT does here, because it doesn't really actually read the book, it doesn't have access to everything that is written in the book. It knows the book because of the content that has been created around the book that is available online. So knowing that, we have to understand that these are already a reinterpretation, and it's always good to check the accuracy of this information. But from having read the book, I could say that these are indeed some actions that are suggested in the book. Now, word for word, I don't think so, because again, ChatGPT doesn't have access to the actual book. All right, this was great. And moving on, I want to show you something else you could do when prompting ChatGPT to learn from different books. What I did here is to ask for a pretty extensive or comprehensive summary of the book, but you could also prompt for a much shorter summary of the book. For example, using this prompt right here. Summarize the book in one paragraph, less than 280 characters, and use relevant emojis. So here, I'm giving ChatGPT a very specific task to summarize the book in only one paragraph and also a maximum number of characters, but also forcing it to use relevant emojis. So let's try again. So here it is, my summary in only one paragraph. Die with Zero by Bill Perkins challenges traditional retirement planning, advocating for maximizing life experiences over accumulating wealth. And money bag emoji. It suggests allocating resources to enjoy adventures, learning, and relationships throughout life, prioritizing happiness units over financial savings. Star emoji. Perkins urges readers to rethink legacy planning and embrace a personalized approach to financial and experiential fulfillment, aiming to live a rich and fulfilling life without regrets. And rocket emoji. That's an interesting choice of emoji. The money bag was really spot on. The star, yes, and the rocket, yeah, maybe. But I mean, it's cool. This is a one paragraph summary. And I could say, again, for having read the book, that's why I chose this book, so I could double check on the information. This is a very accurate summary, short summary of the book. So well done. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this experiment. All right, now let me show you my favorite way of prompting ChatGPT and learn from books. Now that we have summarized the book, we understand its key concept, its key ideas, we have a good understanding after playing around with ChatGPT for maybe 10 minutes of what's inside the book. I want ChatGPT to help me leverage that knowledge from the book to improve my personal life. Okay, so I'm going to give it a prompt that will explain kind of pretty much precisely how it could help me with the knowledge from the book to improve my life. So the prompt I'm going to use for that is slightly longer. It's a one-shot learning prompt, so with one example. Let me read it to you. Can you suggest 5 to 10 practical ways I could apply the knowledge from this book in my daily life? Make your recommendation realistic and actionable. And I give it an example, so the following. For example, for the part of the book that speaks about embracing adventure and exploration, you could say, opening the quote, keep a running list of things you want to experience, like places to visit, food to eat, or art and culture you want to discover, sports you want to try, etc., etc., and make some time every weekend to revisit this list and schedule activities based on its items. End of quote. So that is my full prompt. I'm going to run it and see what happens. So I ask ChatGPT to explore a specific part of the book. So this one right here, point number 6, embrace adventure and exploration. So I want to dig deeper here. I want it to give me some things I can apply in my daily life. All right, so certainly, here are 5 practical ways to apply the knowledge from Die with Zero in your daily life. Number 1, create a bucket list. Number 2, prioritize experiences over things. Number 3, schedule regular adventures. Number 4, invest in learning and growth. 5, practice gratitude and mindfulness. 6, embrace meaningful relationships. It told me that he gave me 5, but it actually gave me more. It gave me 8. Embrace meaningful relationships, set financial goals with experiences in mind, and explore new hobbies and interests. So here we went a little bit off track, I would say, because I asked it to specifically give me some things I can do to embrace adventure and exploration. And that is accurate, actually. Like, that could answer my actual prompt, because I ask it for things I can do in my practical life. And it does make sense because it gave me some actual pieces of advice I could apply in my life. When faced with the decision to spend money, prioritize experiences that bring joy and fulfillment over material possessions. Allocate funds toward activities like traveling, dining out with friends, or attending events rather than unnecessary purchases. I am satisfied with this answer because it gave me some practical ways I could apply the knowledge of the book in my life. Here, telling me go to a restaurant instead of buying some stuff you don't need. That is quite generic, but that is indeed knowledge from the book. I believe these prompts give us a strong base to work with. They allow me to get straight to the point, access the knowledge in books without having to read them, but also start leveraging this knowledge in situations that are relevant to me. Now, I'm not telling you you should stop reading books. Books have been around for hundreds of years and they are an invaluable resource. There's nothing like taking a trip to your local library or entering a well-furnished bookshop. On top of that, using ChatGPT to summarize books presents a few limitations. Indeed, summaries may miss nuances or lack the full context of the book. Also, ChatGPT cannot access the actual content of the books. It relies on what other people have been saying or the content they have been producing about these books that can be found on the open web. Similarly, ChatGPT will not be able to extract specific quotes nor to pinpoint page numbers in the books. Also, and obviously, the insights that we will get will still heavily depend on the original content quality. AKA, is the original book any good? Now, considering all of that, I believe it is still important to read the full primary source or the full original text in these books. And this is very important, you should always verify that the information ChatGPT provides is accurate. Alright guys, let me wrap up this lecture by pointing you to a specific video I created for our YouTube channel in which I show you how to remember everything you read in books with ChatGPT and Canva. If you'd like to watch that, I will have a link to this video in this lecture's description. What we just did for books in the previous lecture can also be done for all types of digital content found on the internet. In this lecture, we will explore how to use a specific set of prompts to extract and organize high-quality information from platforms like YouTube, Wikipedia, and niche blogs that you can find online. But that's not all. We will also ask ChatGPT to create personalized learning paths for us that will let us learn what truly matters to us at our own pace. So here is a quick overview of what's to come in this lecture. First, we'll see how we can ask ChatGPT to summarize key points from any YouTube video so we can learn faster. Next, we'll have ChatGPT synthesize Wikipedia pages into concise overviews. We'll see how to create summaries of blog posts and online articles and see how we can efficiently extract their key ideas. We'll ask ChatGPT to critique online material and highlight strengths and weaknesses. And then towards the end of the lecture, we'll see how we can get ChatGPT to build custom learning playlists for us so that we can learn exactly what we need in the time we have available. All right, so again, I am here on the starting page of ChatGPT. And the first thing I'm going to prompt is I want to figure out what are the important skills that I should be learning about today. And I'm going to be using this prompt right here. What are 10 skills that are really hot right now and will help me make lots of money? Okay, so I want to focus on high-paying skills, and this is what ChatGPT will be recommending that I learn. So it starts like this. Sure, here are 10 skills that are currently in demand, because the demand will set the value, and have the potential to help you make good income. Number 1, data science and analytics. Number 2, software development. Number 3, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Number 4, digital marketing. Number 5, cybersecurity. Number 6, blockchain development. Number 7, cloud computing. 8, UI UX design. 9, sales and negotiation. And 10, project management. So these are, according to ChatGPT, some highly demanded skills that will pretty much, if you start learning them, generate a good income for you. Now, this is great because it gives me some direction. If I have no idea where to start, knowing that you could learn pretty much anything you want thanks to this tool is both a blessing and a curse. There's so much choice that we might be paralyzed by what should I decide? What should I learn? So this prompt kind of helps us see it through, like understanding, okay, this is what the job market is searching for. So maybe if I learn one of these skills, if I go deeper, at least I could expect to make some good income. All right, so I'm going to be focusing on cyber security and keep prompting further to see how far we can go, how much we can learn about cybersecurity with ChatGPT. All right, so my next step right here, now that I have chosen a particular high demand skill that I know I want to learn more about, I'm going to head over to YouTube and from here simply run a simple search on cybersecurity. Okay, so I'm going to run that search and I'm going to filter this by video. Start seeing if there is a video here that could be both like a video with a lot of views that would give me kind of like feel of, okay, this is a video that a lot of people have watched, so therefore it must be good. So this one right here caught my attention. Cybersecurity crash course, computer science. A crash course is kind of what I need right now. Like I don't know much about cybersecurity, so maybe this video could really help me. So I have the video right here, cybersecurity crash course. What I want to show you is that you can actually grab the transcript of this video. If you unfold its description and you scroll all the way to the end, you should see transcript. Okay, so you can click on show transcript and YouTube will be opening up the transcript right here. This little 3-dot hamburger menu will allow you to toggle the timestamps. So I would toggle the timestamps so you don't have the entire thing here, and I will just select everything and hold my click to make sure I have selected the entire text right here. So right click, copy this, and I'm going to head back over to ChatGPT right here. And I'm going to be using this transcript. I'm going to be pasting the entire transcript right here in the box and come back to the beginning. Click in the beginning of the first word, hold my shift key, enter 2 times, And I'm going to be using this prompt right here. Based on this YouTube video transcript on cybersecurity, summarize all the key points in bullet points. Use as many bullet points as there are important points in the video. So I say that, the last part of the prompt, because typically ChatGPT tends to stop at 8 bullet points, so I don't want the number of bullet points to be guided by what typically ChatGPT does, but by the actual number of ideas in this transcript. So I'm going to run this script. It's a pretty long script. As long as you are trying to copy the script of a video which is shorter than 15 to 20 minutes, you should be fine. But if it's a very long video, like a 2-hour video, you won't have enough characters in the contextual window of ChatGPT, at least the free version, to paste everything there. So there you go. I have my answer. Introduction by Carrie Ann on the crash course of computer science. Explanation of the importance of cybersecurity in the interconnected world. Computers lack ethics and can be used for both good and malicious purposes. Comparison of cybersecurity to the Jedi Order, bringing peace and justice to the cyberverse. Okay, that's interesting. And then I have all of these different points right here that help me summarize the information, I would say, that I can find in this cybersecurity crash course. So if I read this, I could actually understand and have a bird's eye view of topics that cybersecurity touches on, okay? So this saved me the 12, 13 minutes of this YouTube videos. You could do that with any YouTube video, really. If you don't want to watch it all, you can just summarize it with a similar prompt. So this was a pretty interesting exercise to have like this video transform into bullet points, because it gave me some things I could bounce off, really, like explanation of the Bell-LaPadula model for access control. I have no idea what the Bell-LaPadula model is, but I could prompt further. Like if you want to dig deeper, I could simply follow up with a prompt like this: explain what the Bell-LaPadula model is in simple terms. So I can start learning in this way. The Bell-LaPadula model is a way to control access to information in computer systems, especially in environments where secrecy is crucial, like military or government settings. So there you go. You have your explanation of anything really related to the topic. So you can decide to go this way, like start with a piece of information and then break it down, follow up with questions, because ChatGPT is here and can be used as your personalized tutor. Okay, so it could be used as a teacher that is always right there by your side. You can ask it any question. Or we could learn in a more structured way, okay, which is what we are going to do now. Now, that was me starting from a YouTube video, but you could start asking and prompting ChatGPT based on another resource you might have come across online. So it could be a Wikipedia page, could be a blog article, could be something you've seen on social media that leads to a specific resource, or a paper, or even like a PDF. That would work as well. So now, let me show you a similar way of working, but this time with a Wikipedia page. And this one has a twist, because it will be a very long page, so I cannot just grab everything and paste it here. And I believe Wikipedia is a strong resource on the internet because it's open sourced, but also because it's pretty complete, contains a lot of information. So if you want to learn about a specific topic, it is a good place to start, but there is sometimes a lot of information. So let's head over to Wikipedia, and I'm going to type cybersecurity. Okay, enter. Computer security. Yeah, cybersecurity or computer security. And you see all of this information right here. I'm not going to include all of the sources, but I'm going to copy everything from here, which is a lot of information. Now, if I copy this and simply come back to ChatGPT and paste that information in the window, okay, that's a lot of information. Come all the way back to the top, and then write a simple prompt saying, summarize this Wikipedia page on cybersecurity into a 2 to 3 paragraph overview of the main ideas. I'm not sure this is going to work. So if I run this prompt, you see an error was generated. The message you submitted was too long. Please reload the conversation and submit something shorter. All right, so this is because we hit the limit of characters in the conceptual window, or this window that I had to paste my information for ChatGPT 3.5. Now, there are other models out there with larger contextual windows, but right now, for ChatGPT 3.5, this article was too long. So there is a way around this. Let me show you a simple website that will allow you to chop your information into several blocks of information that you can paste into ChatGPT. So let me show you that website, and I will have a link to the website in the description of this lecture, so you can find it there. It's called ChatGPT Prompt Splitter. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my Wikipedia page, copy all the information again, and I'm going to paste it here. All right, so as soon as you paste it, it gives you the total amount of characters, and the button will indicate how many parts it should be cut into. Okay, so now I'm going to split it into 7 parts. All right, so there you go. It has created my 7 parts, represented by these 7 green rectangle right here. And you can simply copy the first one by clicking on that first part right here. And you see some custom instructions have been created for ChatGPT. It goes like this. The total length of the content that I want to send you is too large to send it in one piece. For sending you that content, I will follow this rule. Start part 1 out of 10. This is the content of part 1 out of 10 in total. End of part 10. So it kind of shows ChatGPT a formatting. There are not 10 different pieces of content here. There are 7, but it's just giving it as an example. So I'm going to copy this, come back. I'm going to come back to this prompt, locate the little pencil icon right here. You see it? So maybe you don't see it, just hover towards the end of your prompt. You should find it. Okay. So there you go. And I am going to, yes, erase all of this, keep the beginning of my prompt, and then paste the rest of the information. So now if I scroll back up, it goes like this. Summarize this Wikipedia page on cybersecurity into a 2 to 3 paragraph overview of the main ideas. Do not answer yet. This is just another part of the text I want to send you. Just receive and acknowledge as part 1 out of 7 received. Okay, so let's try this. I'm going to regenerate based on that new prompt. All right, so as you can see, this part is the part that has been generated by the ChatGPT prompt splitter text part. So I'm going to go and copy the second part. You see how cool this website, like it indicates that the first part is done. So copy the second one, come back here. I'm going to paste it, simply run the prompt, part 2 received, okay, ready for the next one. And like so, you just go back and forth between your ChatGPT window and the different parts here. I'm going to speed up the video, but you got the idea. And there you go. So now all parts received. How can I assist you further with processing the request? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to repeat my prompt, which seems to be overlooked in the first one. Summarize this Wikipedia page on in 1 or 2 paragraphs. Okay. There you go. So you see how useful this prompt splitter has been for me. It allowed me to paste all of that context of the Wikipedia page right here in the contextual window. Now I was able to run my prompt, which was not possible in the first place. Again, I will have a link in the description of this lecture of this prompt splitter website. It's a free website, easy to use. I found it. There might be other ones out there. I am not affiliated with this website at all. I just found it super useful. So therefore, sharing it with you guys. So here is my summary right here. The Wikipedia page on cybersecurity covers a broad range of topics related to safeguarding computer systems, networks, and data from unauthorized access, attacks, and damage. It discusses various aspects of cybersecurity, including strategies, technologies, and challenges faced in protecting digital assets. The page outlines key concepts such as access control, encryptions, endpoint security, firewalls, and intrusion detection systems, highlighting their roles in mitigating cyber threats, okay, etc., etc. This gives me a pretty good overview, I feel, of what cybersecurity is all about, and saves me pretty much half an hour of really reading through all of that Wikipedia page. I'm not saying you shouldn't read it. It's obviously much more robust than the summary that I'm getting here, but at least the summary gives me a comprehensive overview of what cybersecurity is all about. Is this something I want to dedicate a couple of months of my life to, like learning? Maybe I'm gonna go deeper and study this for a couple of years. Is this something worth investing my time in? So in my opinion, that is what these kinds of prompts can help you achieve in terms of decision making, in where you are going to spend your time and resources. All right, great. Now let me show you the final prompt for this lecture, which for me is kind of like the best prompt, because this will allow me to work together with ChatGPT to create a personalized learning plan for me and learning cybersecurity in the amount of time that I have available for doing that, okay? So let me show you the prompt first. It goes like this. I'm trying to learn more about cybersecurity and potentially find a job in that industry. Can you create a customized learning plan for me that will help me go from beginner to advanced in the field of cybersecurity? What are the different topics and subtopics I should study about? And in what order? I have 6 months to become an expert. Okay, so I told ChatGPT very clearly what my goal was to become an expert in cybersecurity, and I told it I have 6 months. Make me a customized learning plan. Okay, let's see what happens. Certainly, yes. So ChatGPT is always here to help, right? So there you go. I have my 6-month kind of like plan here. Month 1, it's going to be an introduction to cybersecurity, basics of cybersecurity during week 1, networking fundamentals, week 2 to 3, cryptography basics on week 4. Month 2 would be dedicated to cybersecurity foundations. Okay, so operating system security, web security. Month 3, advanced cybersecurity concepts. Okay, week 1 to 2, intrusion detection and prevention systems, malware analysis and reverse engineering. Month 4, cybersecurity tools and technology. Month 5, specialized cybersecurity topics. And month 6, advanced cybersecurity skills. Additional recommendation, continuous learning, stay updated with the latest cybersecurity trends, news, and emerging threats, etc., etc. Certifications. Consider pursuing industry-recognized certifications. Okay, interesting. And hands-on practice. Apply theoretical knowledge through hands-on labs, capture the flag, competition, etc., etc. By following this structured learning plan and dedicating sufficient time and effort, you can significantly advance your skills in cybersecurity within the next 6 months. Good luck on your learning journey. All right, so this is pretty complete, I would say. Obviously, I can take this as my starting point, and then for each month or even each week, ask ChatGPT to develop a much more detailed plan. Like, okay, for example, month 2, cybersecurity foundation, week 1 to 2, operating system security. I could ask for a detailed, like hour to hour almost learning plan that really digs and drills deeper into this specific point, like operating system security. So you could totally do this, but I just wanted to show you that ChatGPT can really help you get started in learning any skill, which is, in my opinion, such a great opportunity because this is free. Like if you have access to the internet, this is the version of ChatGPT that is accessible to anyone. You can prompt this from your mobile phone and learn anywhere in the world as long as you are connected to the internet. So I think this is going to change education. I think this is going to change universities' work. We're not there yet, but yeah, I wouldn't bet on universities. All right, folks, let's wrap it up with some of the limitations of using ChatGPT to learn from online resources. Number 1 is obviously that what you find online is not always great, right? So the quality of these resources may highly vary. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2 is that without access to the internet, ChatGPT cannot really recommend you more resources to explore. It's limited by its knowledge cutoff. So for example, it would be great if ChatGPT could recommend a few other articles to read or a few YouTube videos to watch on a specific topic. We're not there yet, at least without the access to the internet. Number 3, and as always, you should always validate the accuracy of the content created or the summaries created by ChatGPT, okay? So take it with a grain of salt. And finally, you will always need books or online courses like the one you're following right now with me for a more comprehensive learning experience. Hola, ¿qué tal todos? Yeah, I speak Spanish. And I actually learned to speak Spanish way before ChatGPT was a thing. However, if I were to begin learning another language today, I would certainly turn to ChatGPT as my personal language tutor. In this lecture, I'll show you a few prompts that will help you use ChatGPT to speed up any language learning. We'll see how to generate customized lesson plans, engage in conversation, and receive one-on-one feedback to learn a new language. And here is a quick overview of what we'll cover in this lecture. We'll see how to create personalized daily or weekly language learning plans. We'll study vocabulary and key sentences per themes or per topic. We'll practice written conversations on everyday topics for fluency. We'll use ChatGPT as a tutor that will correct any translation or grammar mistakes that we make. And we will use ChatGPT to generate quick little quizzes and fill in the blanks to help us revise the vocabulary and other grammatical things we just learned. All right, so let's say we want to learn Spanish. I believe it is important to start by giving ChatGPT some context. Some context about, obviously, the language we want to learn, in this case Spanish, but also where we come from. What other language do you speak? And from which language are we going to learn that Spanish? So I'm going to start by giving it some context. And the context is this. I want to learn how to speak Spanish. I am a native French speaker who also speaks English. And because I'm prompting in English, ChatGPT will understand that I am going to learn Spanish from the perspective of an English speaker. All right, so this is just the information, I would say, the context for ChatGPT. Let's just give it that first prompt. That's great. Being fluent in French and English will certainly give you a good foundation for learning Spanish. Since French and Spanish share some similarities due to their common Latin roots, you might find certain aspects of Spanish grammar and vocabulary familiar. Okay, here are some steps you can take to start learning Spanish. Start with the basics, build your vocabulary, focus on grammar, practice speaking, immerse yourself, take formal classes or use language learning apps, and be patient and consistent. Okay, so that's just a general overview, pieces of advice from ChatGPT on how to get started with the Spanish. Okay, so that is all well. I have some good context here. Now I want ChatGPT to kind of help me generate a more detailed or specific learning plan, okay? For this, I'm going to be using this prompt. Can you suggest a 10-week beginner Spanish learning curriculum for me? Okay, so I'm letting ChatGPT know I am a beginner and that I want to learn in 10 weeks. All right, so very quickly, I got my response, my answer generated here, and it will be divided into 10 different weeks. So week 1, introduction to Spanish, learn the Spanish alphabet, basic pronunciation, practice greetings and common phrases, introduce yourself in Spanish. Week 2, basic vocabulary. Week 3, grammar basics. Week 4, daily routine and activities. Week 5, food and drinks. Week 6, travel and directions. Week 7, pastimes and hobbies. Week 8, shopping and clothing. 9, health and emergencies. And week 10, review and conversation practice. Okay, and from here, I could go even deeper and ask for a day-to-day kind of schedule by breaking down every single week. So I would write something like, all right, so give me, for example, a day-per-day plan for week 9, health and emergencies. What should I learn on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc.? and ChatGPT will give me a breakdown of that. But that would be a very similar prompt to the one I just used to generate this first schedule. So let's move on to something else. Let's say I want to focus on learning the vocabulary, because I believe you should get, when you learn any new language, you should get to a level of understanding the vocabulary, the number of words you actually know. You should get there to a specific number very fast, because this will be your base. If you don't have any vocabulary, you pretty much won't be able to say anything. So the next prompt I'm going to be using for learning this vocabulary is this one right here. Let's focus on learning vocabulary. Suggest an exhaustive list of beginner-friendly vocabulary categories for me to learn the basics of Spanish. A few examples of categories would be basic greetings and courtesies, numbers, colors, days of the week, everyday regular verbs, ordering food and drinks, etc. So you see here, I'm asking for vocabulary categories, not specifically vocabulary words, but vocabulary categories. Because once I will have these categories, I could prompt deeper. And also, I'm giving ChatGPT some examples. Again, this is few shots learning, so giving it a few examples so that it understands very clearly what I'm asking it. All right, let's run this prompt and see what it does. All right, so it gives me the categories. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different categories here. And for each category, it starts to give me some vocabulary. All right, so maybe 7 categories is not so much. So you can always follow up by asking it. Just let's have a look first at what it gave me here. So basic greetings and numbers, colors, days of the week, month, everyday regular verbs, and ordering food and drinks. So it just limited itself to what I've been asking in the prompt. I want more than that. So I could follow up with a prompt like this one. Okay, this was good. Give me 15 more categories. And it will, like that, continue to generate. Hopefully I get my 15. So family members, which is good. La familia, el padre, la madre, el hijo, la hija, el hermano. Okay, all of this is good. It's going a bit slower now. Not sure what's determined. Oh, picked up the speed. Let's see. All right, so first is family members, and I've got body parts, animals, professions, places in the city, weather. I've got emotions, transportation, clothing, and that's it. So I didn't get 15, I got 9. So this is something that will frequently happen to you when you use ChatGPT. You will ask for a specific number of parts in your answer. You'll get less, you'll get more. ChatGPT is not great with numbers, but you can always prompt for more. It will continue generate more, and you will get at least 6, 7, 8 different categories. All right, so I think I have enough categories now, 9 plus the previous 7, I think it was, so that was good. Let me show you my next prompt. And that prompt goes like this. I want to drill down on the vocabulary a bit, okay? So I'm trying to learn some Spanish vocabulary. I'm going to give you a category. Your task is to create a list of 20 to 30 words or expressions related to that category for me to learn some new vocabulary. You will format the list of vocabulary into a table with the English words or expressions on the left and the Spanish equivalent on the right column. Then let's add a third column with phonetics. If you understand, reply with "What's the category?" Okay, so let's try this prompt. It should ask me what's the category. Perfect, great. Let's just take the last category here and let's just put clothing. Okay, I'm just gonna put clothing. It should generate that table. Yep, there you go. So perfect. This is great. Let's see how many. This is not 20 to 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's about 20. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That is 20 words. That's not too bad. It respected my prompt. I said 20 to 30, gave me 20. A bit lazy, but hey, it respected the prompt. Also, what I like is that I have my pronunciation, my phonetics here. So this is a little trick to really help people who are not that familiar with Spanish pronunciation. For example, shirt, camisa. You have the English phonetics, camisa, camisa, camisa. You have to sound a little bit less American or British camisa, not camisa, all right? So anyways, we have the phonetics pantalón, falda, vestido, okay, vestido. Yeah, all right, so I think the phonetics will help greatly. So let's try another category here. Let's try going on a trip. And you see, I don't repeat the prompt or anything. I'm just giving it the name of another category and just hit return. So got it, going on a trip. Here are 20 travel-related words or expressions. So great. I've got trip, airport, airplane, tickets, passport, visa, luggage. So these are really cool. These are your, I would say, typical, most important words when you're learning a language. And again, you have the phonetics here. So perfect, this works great. Now, let's crank it up a notch, and instead of just vocabulary, like words, let's ask it for more elaborated sentences or expressions, still related to these categories of useful everyday vocabulary to learn when you're learning a new language. And the prompt I will use for that is the following. Great! Now, can you create a similar table with simple sentences and expressions related to that same category? Use the same table format with the same 3 columns. So if I hit enter here, if I launch this prompt, I should have sentences and expressions related to going on a trip. Let's try. Of course, here is a table with 20 simple sentences and expressions related to traveling in English and their Spanish equivalent along with pronunciation. So there we go. Now, instead of simple words like single words, we have expressions like little sentences like I'm going on a trip, I need to go to the airplane is delayed, where's my ticket, I have my passport. All of this, speak Spanish with you now. Yeah, all of this is very useful. We are at gate 5, estamos en la puerta 5. All of this is great. So now let's try something else. If I switch category without giving any further explanation, will it understand that it needs to create a list of expressions about this new category? So let's say ordering food at a restaurant. Let's see. Got it? Yeah. It starts to create my sentences about this new category. I would like to order, can I see the menu? I'd like the chicken for my main course. Quisiera el pollo para mi plato principal. Yeah, all of this is great. Perfect. So now I know how to generate vocabulary list, expression and short, simple sentences list. I would say we are on a good track to learn the language. If you take, let's say, a week or 2 weeks, let's say an hour a day, and you ask ChatGPT to generate maybe these lists about 2, maybe 3 different topics or themes, and you really make the effort to practice, to learn, to study them, then I believe you are up to something good. But how do you test that knowledge? Like, you could be studying these lists for half an hour. How do you know you start to digest this information? Well, this is where this next prompt comes in. Let me show you a way to ask ChatGPT to generate little quizzes, little tests for you. All right, so here is the prompt. Generate 3 types of quizzes and exercises for me to practice the previous vocabulary list and short sentences. Fill in the blank exercise in Spanish, a multiple choice exercise, and a short conversational exercise in Spanish. Use only the words and sentences you generated in your previous answers for the exercises. You will generate a new answer with all the answers to the exercises only when I prompt you to show me the answer. All right, so here we ask ChatGPT to help us practice, review the information we learned earlier by creating these 3 little exercises. And also, we don't want to have the answers included or to see the answers even. So we ask it specifically to not show us the answer until we ask it to do so. So let's run the prompt and see what happens. Sure, here are the exercises for practicing. All right, so this went very fast. So, all right, so the first one, fill in the blanks exercise in Spanish. Me, ordenar, okay? So 3 answers, gustaría, traer, necesito. The answer is gustaría. Me gustaría ordenar. I would like to order. Puedo ver el por favor. Puedo ver el menú, por favor. Okay, so it gives me 3 possibilities here. This is more like a multiple choice exercise. you could ask it to generate the same one without the help, like the 3 different options there. So that would be an option. And I can show you how we would prompt in order to ask it for not showing me these 3 possibilities. Multiple choice. ¿Puedo ver el menú, por favor? Comida, bebida, menú. ¿Puedo ver el menú? Quisiera el pollo para mi plato principal. All right, so here we do have a problem because it includes the right answer in the sentence to start with. So yeah, this is not great. Let's see the last one, short conversational exercise. Waiter, buenas tardes, ¿qué les gustaría ordenar? Customer, me gustaría ordenar. Waiter, ¿puedo ver el menú? So I will just give it this feedback. These exercises don't really make sense. In exercise 2, you don't leave any blank. You don't leave anything blank. You just gave me all the answers. And in the conversation, you mixed up the role of the waiter and the customer. Okay, please start over and give me better exercises. Also, for the fill in the blanks, don't suggest any answers. Let me do the work. Okay, let's run this. Let's see if it can generate some better quizzes. Yes, I think we are up to something much better. Right, let's see. Let's start with the first one. Apologies for the confusion, so it apologizes to me. Let's try again. Okay, fill in the blanks. Me gustaría, I would like to order. So now it gives me a little bit of context. It gives me English translation. So me gustaría ordenar. The answer here should be ordenar. Puedo ver el por favor. Can I see the menu? Puedo ver el menú, por favor. 3. ¿Qué recomienda? What do you... ¿Qué me recomienda? Okay, ¿qué me recomienda? O... Sí, quisiera el para mi plato principal. I would like the... Okay, quisiera el que, we don't know here, so still not perfect, but quisiera el pollo para mi plato principal, for example. All right, let's move on to multiple choice. ¿Puedo ver el menú, por favor? Comida, bebida, menú. Quisiera el pollo para mi plato principal. Abrigo, pollo, vestido, pues. All right, so this one, still not great. So I'm a little bit disappointed. I've seen some better exercises generated before. Let's focus on the conversation one more time. Short conversational exercises in Spanish. Waiter, buenas tardes. ¿Qué le gustaría ordenar? Customer. So it's still not great because the roles are still mixed up. All right. So, we tried. It's not always gonna work. Maybe if we were using the latest model here, ChatGPT 4, maybe we would get more chance. So this is something worth trying, but since we didn't generate all the list of vocabulary, we'd have to start all over from scratch, which we're not gonna do here. I have the intuition it would work better, but we are going to leave it here and just accept that it wasn't that great at generating these short exercises. All right, let's move on to the next prompt. And let's see if we can practice conversations, written conversations with ChatGPT based on the vocabulary we have studied together. And the prompt goes like this. Let's have a 5-minute conversation in Spanish about, then opening the bracket, my daily routine. You will make sure to keep the conversation going by asking me the right questions. After each of my answers, you will correct any grammar, vocabulary, or spelling mistakes I have made if necessary. If what I said was correct and well said, you won't give me any feedback, but just keep the conversation going. So I believe this is a very powerful exercise because it will force me to practice, to be conversational with the AI, and also I will learn from the mistakes I make because it's supposed to correct me, to stop me and correct me every time I make a mistake. So let's just kickstart this and see how it goes. So it's switching to Spanish. Claro, hablemos sobre tu rutina diaria. ¿Qué haces generalmente por la mañana cuando te despiertas? So you just said, of course, let's just talk about your daily routine. What do you usually do when you wake up in the morning? So I will say something like, me levanto y me hago un desayuno. Let's not make any mistake. This sentence is grammatically correct. So, all right, so, ¿qué sueles desayunar? What do you usually have for breakfast? So here I'm going to create a mistake on purpose. Normalmente como 2 huevos. Huevos, so eggs, usually takes an H. I'm going to write it without the H. Normalmente como 2 huevos, okay? So it should Perfecto. Los huevos son una opción nutritiva para empezar el día. ¿Acompañas los huevos con algo más? Okay, so here it didn't correct my spelling mistake. Well, it actually did use the word with the correct spelling, huevos, but it didn't let me know that I made a spelling mistake. So I'm going to correct that, and I'm going to let it know by using this prompt. Wait a second, you didn't correct my spelling mistakes for huevos, that I spelled huevos without the H. Please make sure you correct all my spelling and grammar mistakes from now on. Let's see. Claro, los huevos son una excelente opción. Los cocinas de alguna manera especial. Okay, so it didn't say anything about it correcting my mistakes. So I am going to answer by creating another mistake on purpose. Sí, me gustan en omelette. Okay, so omelette is not the proper spelling. Let's see. Entiendo, los omelets son deliciosos. ¿Qué ingredientes suelen agregar a tu omelette? All right, so here again, it didn't listen to me. It didn't correct my spelling mistake. Omelette, it's only one L and two T's. All right, so here it wrote it correctly with only one L. So I will need to be stricter. Okay, stop. You don't correct my errors, and that defies the exercise. So I need you to correct all my spelling and grammar mistakes. Do you understand? Entendido. Lamento el error. Retornemos nuestra conversación. Los omelets son deliciosos. ¿Qué ingredientes sueles agregar a tu omelette? So here, ChatGPT is being very annoying with me. It's being very boring. So I'm going to test this one more time and see if it corrects my spelling mistakes. All right? Okay. Me gusta añadirle, let's say, zanahorias. Okay. Carrots. I like to add carrots. Okay. It asks me what other ingredients would you like to use in your omelette. So zanahorias is very poorly written. It has at least two errors in there. Perfecto. Zanahorias es la palabra correcta. So here it corrects me. It says perfect. Zanahorias with the proper spelling is the correct word. ¿Algo más que les añades a tu omelette? Let's create another mistake to double and triple check. Sí, me gusta añadir queso. Okay, queso is with Q-U, not with a K. Excelente. Queso se escribe con Q-U. ¿Algo más? Okay, so now it's working. So I could continue this conversation. I could change the topic. Okay, let's change the topic and now talk about my job. Okay, let's see. Claro, ¿qué tipo de trabajo realizas? Okay, so YouTuber. Interesante. ¿De qué tema tratas en tu canal de YouTube? All right. So it just keeps on asking me things in Spanish in order to keep the conversation going. And I believe now it will correct every single grammar and spelling mistake. So it's not always going to be an organic process. Like sometimes ChatGPT will make mistakes, will forget things. It is the nature of using ChatGPT, unfortunately, for now. As we've seen before, it is an iterative approach. So it won't be perfect the first time. You will need to kind of like fix it as you go, correct the trajectory until you get something that works. And then once you found that something that works, keep on prompting the same. All right, guys, let's wrap up the lecture by talking about some of the limitations when using ChatGPT to learn a new language. The first one is that ChatGPT is only gonna give you vocabulary, but also feedback on what it has been programmed about, right? So it will always be limited by that. And you will certainly not learn the latest slang from the street, the way specific social groups or subculture pronounce or use specific expressions. So all of that will not be included in what you will learn with ChatGPT. The second limitation is that your conversations with ChatGPT will lack real interactivity, this human touch that ChatGPT cannot yet reproduce. Third, limitation is that ChatGPT cannot help you with pronunciation errors, which is really important, I would say. When learning a new language, you need to pronounce correctly. The best we can do, and as we've seen when we were prompting ChatGPT, is to ask it to generate lists of the phonetics version of the word. Fourth limitation is that assessments on only tests are quite basic and they won't really evaluate your level of fluency with the language. You can only do so much with fill in the blanks, multiple choices, exercises when it comes to learning a language. And then last but not least, you will always need some sort of immersion or real human conversation to become fluent in any language. So these are things that you need to keep into consideration when learning a new language with AI or with ChatGPT. So while it is not perfect and should definitely be complemented by immersion or conversation with real humans, relying on ChatGPT to learn a new language can definitely jumpstart your learning journey. In a world where university tuition fees can soar to tens of thousands of dollars, seeking alternative ways to acquire skills and knowledge is the logical choice. And for years, platforms like YouTube, Wikipedia, or online course marketplaces like Skillshare or Udemy have been go-to places for people who couldn't afford these expensive university degrees. But now, with the advent of AI, there is a new player in the field. In this lecture, I will show you different ways to prompt ChatGPT to create customized study plans, curriculums, and sequencing for self-directed learning. And these personalized learning paths offer a more flexible, but most importantly, a more cost-effective approach to education. I believe AI has the potential to make education available and affordable for everyone. Now, here's a list of what we will learn in this lecture. We'll start by asking for learning roadmaps catered to our goals and our needs. Then we'll get ChatGPT to generate study schedules tailored to the time we have on our hands. Next, we'll see how we can get customized learning plans for different topics, different subjects we want to study about. We'll ask ChatGPT to sequence the resources we would like to study about in order to approach them in the optimal order. And you'll see how important that is. And finally, we'll use ChatGPT to refine our plans based on some progress we might have made, or in order to get feedback on what we've learned so far. That could be also going deeper on specific points. So we'll see how we can prompt ChatGPT to follow up, to go deeper, or to change the course of what we are studying. All right, so let's assume we are in the middle of a career change. All right, we want to do something completely different with our life, with our career. And let's say we want to become a graphic designer. Okay, we want to learn how to become a freelance graphic designer. So let's start by priming ChatGPT and giving it that information about ourselves. So you could start your prompt in this way. I want to take a 180-degree turn in my career and become a freelance graphic designer. Okay, so that is the context, that is the beginning of my prompt. Then I will ask ChatGPT, that would be my first prompt. I will ask it to help me design a learning plan, kind of like a learning schedule for me to achieve a specific goal I have in mind. Okay, so the prompt goes like this. What would be the fundamental topics / skills to learn to become a, opening the brackets, freelance graphic designer in 3 months? Okay, so here again, you can have a different duration depending on how much time you have on your hand. Create a detailed study plan that would keep me busy 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. Okay, so again, you can modulate the number of hours per day, the numbers of days per week. But this one is like, considering I'm going full-time on this, I really would like to become a freelance graphic designer within 3 months. So let's run the prompt. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say here, and let's see what it suggests me I start studying. All right, so here's the answer. Transitioning into a career as a freelance graphic designer in just 3 months is an ambitious goal. But with a well-structured study plan and dedication, it is achievable. Here's a detailed study plan that covers fundamental topics and skills you will need to learn, keeping you busy for 6 hours per day, 5 days a week. So it kind of repeats the boundaries, the conditions I set in my prompt. All right, so weeks 1 and 2, Introduction to Graphic Design Basics. So day 1 to 5 will be dedicated to understanding graphic design fundamentals. So then I have a breakdown per day. I have day 1, Introduction to Graphic Design, day 2, Typography, day 3, Colors Theory, day 4, layout and composition, and day 5, design software familiarization. Get acquainted with software like Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. All right, so week 3 to 4, building graphic design skills, and again, a breakdown per days. All right, so that's pretty cool. Week 5 to 6, advanced design concepts, advanced Photoshop techniques, design projects, photo manipulation. All right, so I see my content planned here for the 12 weeks, which is equivalent to 3 months. It's about 50 working days, okay, 5 days a week. And yeah, it seems pretty complete. So the next step from here would be either I could prompt deeper and ask for a breakdown of topics and things to learn on a weekly basis or even on a daily basis, now that I have, like, for example, the 36 to 40 business essentials. Okay, so I could drill down on that. Or I could just pick and choose, for example, here, the 36 to 37 freelancing basics, understand contracts, pricing strategies, client communication. So all of these keywords, I could use that to prompt deeper. For example, contracts right here. I could have a prompt like this one. Can you create a templated contract for my future graphic design gigs? Okay, let's run that. Certainly. And then here, ChatGPT is going to draft a templated contract that I could probably use. I would have, obviously, to kind of tweak that contract, but I have 80% of the backbone of that contract already created, already drafted for me here. Could probably go ahead and work with this. Okay, so I have all the typical things that need to be included in a contract. Now, I would definitely take that with a grain of salt, read this very carefully, maybe try to compare it with the contract a friend of mine who is a graphic designer is already using. You know, you could ask for advice to friends or people that you know. Maybe you are benefiting from the help of your local job-seeking organization, or maybe you know someone that can read this and help you, give you some tips. So this is always obviously a good thing to do, to not just take this and send this to a client. All right, let's move on. I want to show you an example of a prompt to go much deeper into a specific point here. For example, if we come back to the beginning of our learning plan, understanding the graphic design fundamentals, okay, day 1 to 5. So if I was to study like graphic design fundamentals in a much deeper way, I could use a prompt like this one. I want you to act as a university teacher who teaches graphic design in a prestigious establishment. My goal is to master the following principles of design. And then I will list a few of them: balance, contrast, emphasis, movement, white space, proportion, hierarchy, and repetition. Provide a detailed definition of each principle. Use real-life examples to show how they can be applied to graphic design work and projects, and suggest additional resources I could use to deepen my understanding of it. Use formatting and highlight the name of the principles. Keep in mind that I am new to the world of graphic design. So this is a quite elaborated prompt, but it should work if I want to really go deeper. So there you go, ChatGPT answered straight away, certainly. Let's delve into each principle of design and explore how they are applied in graphic design, along with some examples and additional resources for further learning. So the first one is balance, okay? So I get a definition. Balance refers to the distribution of visual weight within a design. So I get the definition, I've got an example, okay? In a poster design, balance can be achieved by placing large, heavy elements such as text or graphics on one side of the composition and balancing them with smaller, lighter elements on the opposite sides. Additional resources, I have a book, Graphic Design School, The Principles and Practice of Graphic Design by David Dapner, Sandra Stewart, and Eric Zampel. Okay, so this has to be double-checked. Online courses, Graphic Design Basics, Core Principles for Visual Design, on Coursera. Okay, this needs to be double checked as well. All right, so second point, contrast. And again, definition, example, additional resource. So what I'm going to do right now is to open a second tab here, and I'm going to search for this book to see if that is a real book. All right, so let's paste that title, see if that is a book. Graphic Design School, the Principles. Okay, it seems like we found something on Amazon. Graphic Design School, the Principles and Practice of Graphic Design, 5th edition by Sandra Stewart, Eric Zampel, and David Dabner. I come back here. Is this the same book? Yeah, Graphic Design School, the Principle of Practice, David Dabner, Sandra. Yeah, it is a real book. So that wasn't too bad. Now, I'm not gonna double check every single piece of information, but you definitely should, because this tends to be not that great. Like, maybe ChatGPT is getting better at this, but every time I've done it, like prompted for additional resources or suggested links and videos and stuff like that, it's kind of like a 50-50, you know what I'm saying? So definitely double check every single link, every single reference or resource that is being cited by ChatGPT. All right, so this worked well. I have all of the design principles I asked for, 7, 8, yeah, the 8 different principles right here. Let's move on to something else. All right, let's try something else now. Let's move away from the graphic design freelancer thing. Let's pretend I have to deliver a presentation in about 2 months on emotional intelligence. And let's admit it, I don't know much about emotional intelligence. So let's see how we can use ChatGPT to kind of prepare ourselves for that big presentation we have coming in 2 months. So I will be using this prompt right here. Please create a daily study schedule for learning about emotional intelligence, between brackets, in 2 hours per day, 3 days a week. That is the time I have to learn that skill. My goal is to be able to deliver a 90-minute webinar on the topic in 2 months. All right, so let's run the prompt and see how ChatGPT intends to prepare me for my webinar. All right, so weeks 1 and 2, understanding emotional intelligence. Day 1, day 2, day 3. So I told it 2 hours per day, 3 days a week for 2 months. All right, so day 1, day 2, day 3, and then I have the following weeks, day 4, 5. So that should be in total, all the way down, 24 days. Okay, and it just breaks down all the different things I need to be learning. And this goes from introduction to emotional intelligence, the 4 components of emotional intelligence, assessing my own emotional intelligence, developing emotional awareness, cultivating self-awareness, managing my emotions, building social awareness, enhancing relationship management, effective communication skills, building strong relationships, applying emotional intelligence in leadership, preparation and practice. Okay, so weeks 7 and 8, we are going to switch gear and just focus on the workshop, on the webinar. So day 10 and 12 will be about developing the webinar content, okay, rehearsing and fine-tuning, so until we are ready by day 24. All right, so here we have the entire plan. Obviously, we can prompt deeper, we can refine the prompts, but you know, we gave it a different time frame, we gave it a different objective, and I believe it did a great job at breaking down the amount of work and distribute it among the available time that I had on my hands. So I'm very happy with this. I just wanted to show you, you can really, by using the prompts I'm giving you, change the variables in the brackets, change the goals, and you should be good to go. All right, moving on to the last prompt for this lecture. This one is about sequencing, all right? In which order should I approach specific topics, like algebra, for example? So the prompt is the following. In what order should I learn algebra and its different concepts to build my knowledge incrementally? I am a total beginner. Provide the most logical learning sequence that covers what's in the curriculum of a high school student all the way to senior year. Okay, so let's imagine I want to help my hypothetical son with his algebra classes. I'm a parent and I don't remember anything about algebra. All right, I studied this when I was his age, but now, let's admit it, I don't know anything anymore about algebra. So I need to review with the help of my friend here, ChatGPT, so that I can at least not look like a total ignorant in the eyes of my son. All right, so let's run the prompt and see in which order ChatGPT recommends I learn algebra. So there you go. Number 1, numbers and operations. Learn about the number system, including whole numbers, integers, fractions, decimals, and irrational numbers. All right, expressions and equations, linear equations and inequalities, graphing linear functions, systems of equations and inequalities, exponents and polynomials, quadratic equations and functions, radicals and rational expressions, functions and relations, and advanced topics. Okay, so here is a detailed plan that scares the hell out of me, but yeah, I do remember some vague memories of learning these things at school. So if you do need some example, for example, of this functions and relations, so you could prompt something like this: give me a few examples of functions and relations. Let's do this. Let's see what it is about. Okay, linear functions, quadratic function, exponential function, a bunch of different functions here. And you see ChatGPT is pretty good at writing mathematical characters. So formulas and all that stuff here looks pretty good. I wish I understand what I was reading, but I'm not. But yeah, so this is how you could really get the help of ChatGPT to understand in which order to tackle a topic, which could be a broad topic, could be entire materia that you need to study at school or for curriculum. This could be good to know which one to start first, second, and third. As always, let's finish the lecture with some of the limitations of using ChatGPT to create these customized learning paths. And the first limitation is that these learning plans lack real-time adjustments based on our progress. So once it's been generated, ChatGPT doesn't know where we are in these schedules. The second limitation is that if we do ask ChatGPT to generate links, websites, videos to additional resources, these are often outdated or broken, all right? So that is if you are using ChatGPT Plus and ask for ChatGPT to point you to specific resources. These links often don't work. Third limitation is that it is obviously less effective to create learning paths this way than to have a real professor, human coach, or tutor to show you the way. And then the last limitation I would like to talk about is that the quality of these schedules, these plans, will highly depend on how you articulate your prompt, on how you make it clear for ChatGPT that this is the goal you are kind of like striving for, all right? The clearer your goals are explained, the better the learning plan. So it will always be limited by how well your prompt is formulated. All right, folks, I hope you found this lecture interesting and beneficial. In the next one, I'll show you how to turn ChatGPT into a personalized tutor. I remember listening to an interview of Emad Mostaki a few months ago. Emad is the founder and CEO of Stability AI, which is the world's leading open source generative AI company. And during the interview, he shared his exciting vision for the future of education. And that vision really stuck with me. In a nutshell, he explained how generative AI and chatbots could transform learning, offering every child on the planet the chance to have a world-class tutor right there in their pocket. Now, isn't that an encouraging vision? Access to education for everyone. In this lecture, we are going to explore how to leverage ChatGPT as a private tutor to support our learning efforts through explanations, examples, practice, and personalized guidance. And here are a few things we are going to cover. We'll ask ChatGPT to explain concepts in simple terms. We'll have it walk us through and give us examples and sample problems. We'll request additional explanations when topics are unclear or complicated. We'll ask ChatGPT to give us definitions and interpretations of key terminology. And we'll also use ChatGPT for guided practice and feedback. All right, let's start with something easy. I would like ChatGPT to simply explain some concepts to me that I have come across in my econ class. All right, so the prompt is the following. I am a freshman in high school, so I'm giving it some context. Currently studying for my Econ 1 class exam. Okay, so I'm telling it the exact subject I'm studying and the level. Please explain the concept of elasticity of supply and demand as if you are my private tutor. Okay, so here I would like ChatGPT to explain to me in simple terms what elasticity of supply and demand means in the context of an econ class. All right, so let's just run this prompt and see what comes up. Of course, let's dive into the concept of elasticity of supply and demand. All right, so here it starts to generate the response. Let's have a quick look. First, definition. Elasticity of demand measures how sensitive the quantity demanded of a good is to a change in its price. Example, if the price of a certain brand of sneakers increases, but people still buy about the same number of sneakers, the demand is inelastic. On the other hand, if the price of a luxury item like designer handbags increases slightly and people drastically reduce their purchases, then the demand is elastic. So that is the definition with some examples. Then it gives me some factors that could affect the elasticity of demand. For example, the availability of substitutes. If there are many substitutes available, people can easily switch to other products if the price increases, making demand more elastic. Necessity versus luxury. Necessities tend to have inelastic demand because people need them regardless of the price. On the other hand, luxuries often have more elastic demand because people can easily do without them if the price goes up. So that was for the elasticity of demand. Then I have the same explanation, I would say 3 parts with definition, example, and factors affecting the elasticity for the supply. So I have demand and supply, and it's nicely structured into these different paragraphs, I would say. So I believe this was a very good explanation for having studied elasticity of supply and demand when I was in my econ classes. Yeah, I think it would have been very useful to have this kind of technology back then to simply ask for questions, because sometimes when you come across the material in your class and the teacher is there in front of 200 people and it goes fast, maybe you don't get it exactly like that. So that was the first thing I wanted to show you, how we can prompt ChatGPT to clarify, to explain complex concepts. All right, so now let's say you are good with this, but you really want to fixate that knowledge, like understand deeply and never forget anymore what is elasticity of demand and supply. So we could follow up and ask for ChatGPT to summarize all of that information into a shorter package and also give us some examples that would help us understand. So we could proceed with a prompt like this one. Please summarize that information into a few simple rules that will help me remember the concept. Also, provide 3 examples of goods or services with elastic and non-elastic supply and demand. Okay? So let's run this prompt and see how ChatGPT can summarize this concept for me. If quantity demanded changes significantly with a small change in price, then the demand is called elastic. On the other hand, if quantity demanded changes only slightly with a large change in price, then the demand is inelastic. Similarly, for supply, if quantity supplied changes significantly with a small change in price, supply is elastic. If quantity supply changes only slightly with a large change of price, supply is inelastic. And then it gives me my examples like I asked for. Airline tickets. If the price of an airline ticket increases, people might choose to travel by train, car instead, making demand elastic. Okay. Other ones include designer clothing, luxury cars. So when these goods, like the price of these goods increases, people might turn to other alternatives, which makes the demand elastic. On the other hand, inelastic demand, things like gasoline, medicine, electricity, which are things that we need, absolutely need to survive or to live simply. So there is less elasticity in the demand because we still need to buy them. All right, so I think ChatGPT did a good job here. And after reading all of this, after checking all of these facts, I can say that the information is actually correct. All right, moving on to something else ChatGPT can do for you is to simplify complicated concepts, okay? So we already saw how, as your tutor, it could explain these concepts. Now let's see how they can be simplified. All right, so the prompt I'm going to be using is this one right here. I am unclear on the concept of cognitive psychology from my psychology course. Can you explain it to me in simple terms? Okay, so what is cognitive psychology? So here's the answer. Certainly, cognitive psychology is all about understanding how people think, learn, remember, and solve problems. Essentially, it's the study of the mind and how it works. Here's a simple breakdown. So thinking, learning, remembering, problem solving, and perception. Overall, cognitive psychology aims to uncover the processes behind these mental activities. By understanding how the mind works, psychologists can better explain and even improve human behavior and cognition. It's like peeking inside our brains to understand how they tick. All right, so I think it did a great job at simplifying this concept of cognitive psychology. Let's dive a bit deeper. Let's continue learning about the concept of cognitive psychology, because I am in that psychology class and I know I have a test coming next week. So I should probably dig deeper. All right, so let's use this prompt to go further. Who were some of the most important figures of cognitive psychology and what did they discover? Explain all of that in simple terms. Also, use formatting to highlight the names and the main contributions. So here, and this is something quite common in psychology, I'm asking for the names of important contributors to this psychology trend, this psychology movement of cognitive psychology. So who were the main protagonists and what did they discover? Let's see what ChatGPT can teach us on that topic. So the first one is Jean Piaget, okay, with his main contribution. Piaget was a Swiss psychologist known for his work on child development. Okay, so a little bit of explanation. The second psychologist is Ulrich Neisser. Okay, main contribution, Neisser is often considered the father of cognitive psychology. He introduced the term cognitive psychology in his book, Cognitive Psychology. Duh. The next one, Albert Bandura. Main contribution, Bandura is known for his work on social learning theory and self-efficacy. He conducted the famous Bobo doll experiment, which demonstrated observational learning and the influence of modeling on behavior. To be honest, I don't know many. I heard about Piaget first, the first one, but the other ones, Elizabeth Loftus, George A. Miller, I don't know about these psychologists. So this is a good way for me to discover them. I could then maybe type their name into Wikipedia to learn some more, to go even deeper down the rabbit hole of cognitive psychology. But at least these few answers here gave me some leads to follow. So you could really prompt deeper and ask ChatGPT about Elizabeth Loftus and her entire work, the books she has written, the main theories she contributed to cognitive psychology, and maybe some of the debates around what she has written, like controversies. Like, there is always more to ask. So we could always follow up and go deeper, which we're not going to do. The important thing is that you can go there. You can definitely continue prompting. All right, I want to move on and continue prompting ChatGPT, still stay in the field of psychology, but broaden my scope a little bit, not just focus and laser focus on cognitive psychology. I want to learn more broadly about psychology. So I'm going to be using this prompt. I'm going to ask you a couple of follow-up questions, and you will answer them rapid fire style. So apart from cognitive psychology, what are the other branches of psychology? So that's the first question. Sure, here are some branches of psychology: clinical psychology, developmental psychology, social psychology, behavioral psychology, counseling psychology, educational psychology, industrial organizational psychology, biopsychology or neuropsychology, health psychology, and forensic psychology. All right, so here I got a good overview of the different branches. Probably there are more, but these are probably the most important branches of psychology. Let's continue rapid fire style. What branch was Freud part of? Okay, so Sigmund Freud was primarily associated with the branch of psychology known as psychoanalysis. All right, psychoanalysis, which was not listed here psychoanalysis. So I am surprised to see that psychoanalysis was not one of the 10 branches. So that was not one of the 10 branches you listed there now, was it? Okay, can always follow up and see. You are correct. I apologize for the oversight. Psychoanalysis is often considered a distinct approach within psychology rather than a separate branch, but it does have its own unique principles and technique. Right, so you see, if you're not clear about something, if you have doubt, you can always express them, and ChatGPT will bounce off of that. Okay, so here I'm learning that, yeah, psychoanalysis is often considered its own distinctive approach within psychology rather than a branch of psychology. All right, let's do one more. I heard about this Pavlov dog and I want to know what this thing is all about. So explain the Pavlov dog's experiment in simple language. All right, so I know, sure, even Pavlov's experiment with dogs is a classic example of classical conditioning. Here is a simple explanation. Pavlov noticed that dogs naturally salivated, produced saliva, when they saw or smelled food. He wondered if he could make the dog salivate in response to a different stimulus, like a sound, by associating it with the food. So then I have a description of 4 steps. So first, Pavlov's dogs were hungry. Then Pavlov added a new element. Okay, while presenting the food, Pavlov also rang a bell. Okay. Third, associating the bell with the food. After repeating this process several times, the dog started to associate the bell with the food. Conditioned response. Eventually, just the sound of the bell, even without the food, was enough to make the dogs salivate. Okay, so that is, in a nutshell, Pavlov's dog's experiment. In summary, Pavlov's experiment showed that through repeated pairing of a neutral stimulus, the bell, with a meaningful stimulus, the food, the dogs learned to associate the bell with the food and respond to the bell alone with salivation. This process is known as classical conditioning and has implications for understanding how animals and humans learn to associate stimuli in their environment. So there we go, a very clear, in my opinion, and uncomplicated explanation of Pavlov's dog's experiment. So if you do have a psychology test coming up next week and you read that and you understood that, there's a high chance you can at least tell about this experiment and maybe refer to it in your responses to the test question if that comes up. All right, let me wrap up with a last prompt that will allow me to kind of fixate the knowledge I gained while interacting with ChatGPT in this same conversation. All right, so the prompt is the following. I want to practice what I've learned so far about cognitive psychology. Ask me some questions one by one based on all the information you've provided me about that topic. Stick to the information you've actually provided me in this chat. After I give you an answer, give me some feedback and evaluate my answer. Provide complementary information if you think my answer wasn't good enough. So this is a very powerful prompt that will allow you to kind of evaluate what you just learned with ChatGPT. By asking it to only stick to the answers it provided you in that same conversation, you kind of safe and you know that this is only what is going to be evaluated. So let's run the prompt and let's see what questions it comes up with. Great. Question: what is cognitive psychology and what does it study? So what I remember is that cognitive psychology is the study of the human brain and how it works. It studies how we learn, how we learn, how we think, how we react to outside stimuli, etc. Okay, let's just leave it there. Your answer provides a solid overview of cognitive psychology. You correctly identified cognitive psychology as a study of the mind and its processes, including learning, thinking, and perception. Additionally, you mentioned how cognitive psychology examines our reaction to external stimuli. Well done. Cognitive psychology indeed delves into how people acquire, process, store, and retrieve information. it encompasses various aspects of mental functioning, such as memory, problem-solving, decision-making, language, and perception. This field helps us understand how individuals perceive the world around them, make sense of information, and adapt to different situations. Keep up the good work. Now, let's move on to the next question. So you see, I love that first it gave me some feedback about my answer. Okay, so that's the first paragraph. And then it kind of gave me additional, like it kind of filled in the gaps, like what I forgot to mention. It reminded me nicely here with some extra information of what I should probably remember for the next time. So I love that. And then the next question, can you name one influential figure in cognitive psychology and briefly describe their contribution to the field? Yeah, let's go with Piaget, which is the only one I remember. The Swiss psychologist. Okay, I don't remember what he did. Correct, Jean Piaget was indeed a Swiss psychologist known for his significant contribution to cognitive psychology, particularly in the area of child development. Yeah, I read that. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm not gonna go all the way, but ChatGPT will continue giving you the next question and give you feedback on your answer, complemented by some extra information. I really love this prompt, and I really think you should start using it too. All right, guys, let's wrap up with a few limitations of using ChatGPT as a private tutor. The first one is that the information you get from ChatGPT needs to get fact-checked. You absolutely cannot take this information for granted. You at least need to do some quick fact-checking and double-checking with different sources. The second is that when you practice with ChatGPT to test your knowledge, that practice will always be limited and without real-time interaction. Unlike practicing with a human tutor, you will not have this back and forth conversation. It's going to be mostly one way and like one question after the other. The third limitation is that ChatGPT cannot really deeply assess your understanding of any topic, but merely what you remember from that topic. So that is memory type of learning. And the fourth limitation is that it is not and will never be a replacement for qualified human tutors. All right, so it is useful, yes, but it should not be considered as a 100% replacement of a human person. Maybe we'll get there, but we're not there yet. I hope you enjoyed this lecture and that these prompts helped you get a better understanding of what ChatGPT can do as a personal tutor. In the next lecture, I'll show you how you can use ChatGPT to get ready for tests and exams. So don't you go anywhere. Back in my school days, tests and exams were kind of like my jam. Not that I particularly liked them. I remember stressful times, but I was quite good at it. I would study for days and take it seriously. I mean, seriously compared to most of my friends, and usually get good grades. And here is a little secret, just between you and me. You see, my best buddies had this tendency to pick a seat right next to me during the exams, you know, in case they could get a glimpse of my answers. And you know me, I'm a good guy. I like to share the knowledge. Now, I wish I had access to a tool like ChatGPT when I was studying for these exams. That would have made my life and the life of my buddies way easier. In this lecture, we'll look at how to use ChatGPT to generate practice quiz and exam questions to evaluate our knowledge on any topic. And we will be covering things like getting multiple choice questions for self-assessment, getting ChatGPT to create practice tests on specific topics. We'll request some sample essays and short answer questions. We'll use ChatGPT to make quizzes tailored to what we need to study. And we'll also ask it for a timed exam situation, like, you know, when you're passing one of these standardized tests and you have 1, 2, or 3 hours to do so. So we'll try to get as close as possible to this real life situation. All right, the first thing I want to show you is how you can use ChatGPT to generate quizzes to help you review specific material. All right, so let's assume I am studying for my biology class, and here is my prompt. Can you generate 10 multiple choice questions to quiz my knowledge of 12th grade biology. You will generate a new answer with all the answers to the exercises only when I prompt you to show me the answers. All right, so here, giving ChatGPT some clear instructions with a clear level, 12th grade biology. Okay, 10 multiple choice question. I'm not sure can answer them. All right, so here we go. Question number 1. Which one of the following is not a component of a nucleotide? Okay, phosphate group, ribose sugar, nitrogenous base, amino group. I don't know. What is the function of a Golgi apparatus in a cell? I don't know. Which one of the following is not a function of the lymphatic system? Transporting white blood cells, draining excess tissues fluid, absorbing fats from a digestive system, pumping blood to the rest of the body. So like this, obviously, I would probably fail my biology 12th grade exam, but I didn't study for it, so I have a good excuse. But I think these questions are pretty good. In which stage of a mitosis do the chromosomes line up at the center of the cell? Which of the following is a characteristic of a dominant allele? What is the primary function of the enzyme amylase? Which of the following is a primary structure of a protein, etc., etc. I have my 10. So, okay, so didn't give me the answer. Good luck with your quiz. Let me know when you're ready for the answers. Like, show me the answers. Show me the answers. And now you can pretty much go back to each of the 10 questions and check your answers. I am not in a position to fact check these answers because I simply don't know them. But I just wanted to show you, you can like that, ask ChatGPT to generate a multiple question quiz about any topic. And like that, learn, review. You could ask for 10 more questions about the same topic. Yeah, I think this is just a great way to study from your books, from your material, from school, and then just get some basic tests like this to test your knowledge. All right, so let's switch gear and see how ChatGPT can deal with open-ended questions. So not multiple answer questions, but questions that will require me to start typing and start creating sentences, all right? So the prompt is this one. Create a 5 open-ended question practice test on African geography suitable for a 16-year-old student. You will generate a new answer with all the answers to the test only when I prompt you to show me the answers, okay? So here, I am a 16-year-old studying African geography. I chose this example because I recently watched a TikTok video where people were asking adult Americans in the streets of some random city in the US, like, give me the name of one African country. And a lot of them said Wakanda. So that's what inspired this question, if you ask me. All right, certainly. Let's see. I'm not an expert in African geography, but I could try. First question. Describe the major geographical feature of the Sahara Desert and explain how they impact the region's climate and human activities. Okay, Saharan Desert, kind of more or less know where it is? Could try. Discuss the significance of the Nile River in African geography, including its importance for agriculture, transportation, and settlement patterns. Number 3, explain the concept of desertification and its effect on the environment and human communities in Africa. Provide examples of regions affected by desertification and discuss possible solutions. Compare and contrast the physical geography of East Africa and West Africa, focusing on factors such as landforms, climate, and vegetation. Describe the Great Rift Valley and its significance in African geography. Discuss its formation, major features, and its impact on the landscape and human activities in the region. All right, so this is a pretty robust test. Again, I didn't study before. I could probably give you some information about the Sahara Desert, which is covering parts of Tunisia, Morocco, and Algeria, how they impact the region's climate. So obviously, it's a very dry, could be cold during the night, very hot during the days, a region's climate and human activities. So there are some nomadic people traveling through this desert called Bedouin, if I remember correctly. So let's see, like, show me the answers. I'm gonna ask it to show me the answers and kind of evaluate my response to the Sahara Desert. Let's focus on the first one right here. The Sahara Desert is characterized by vast stretches of sand dunes, rocky plateaus, and gravel plains. Its climate is extremely dry and high temperature temperature and low precipitation, leading to arid conditions. That's a desert. These geographical features and climate impact the region by limiting agricultural productivity, promoting nomadic lifestyle, and influencing trade routes and settlement near oases and water sources. All right, so I kind of had a few things right, but they explained it better. All right, then we have the answer to all of the other questions. So again, a different type of test. It kind of forced me to write some information, so open-ended questions, but still a great way to review material on any topic, because these questions were pretty relevant, I would say, to someone studying African geography. All right, let's again change topic and see this time how we can generate like quick vocabulary quizzes when learning a language. All right, so my prompt is the following: make a vocabulary quiz for the Spanish words typically included in the Spanish 5-6 class. Okay, so 5-6 is the American way of kind of like structuring the different language classes. So it starts at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so the different levels, 9, 10 being the most advanced class. So 5, 6 is already pretty advanced, so let's see what kind of test. Sure, here's a vocabulary quiz for Spanish 5-6 class. ¿Cuál es el significado de la palabra concordancia en español? So I have ABC, armonía o acuerdo entre las palabras y una oración, dificultad o problema en la comunicación, acción de describir de manera clara y precisa. So concordancia is concording, is like when we have an agreement. So it's the first one, armonía o acuerdo entre las palabras. Okay, so this was relatively easy for me because I do speak Spanish, but let's have a look at the other questions. ¿Qué significa la palabra preposición en español? ¿Cuál es el significado de la palabra imperativo en español? ¿Qué significa la palabra gerundio en español? ¿Y cuál es el significado de la palabra sintaxis en español? So all of these questions are pretty grammatical questions, so it's interesting. I could follow up and ask it to focus the test more on conversation. Let's do that. So great. And now focus the questions more on conversations about the weather. For example, the weather. And there's a typo in weather. ¿Qué significa la palabra soleado en español? So, sunny. ¿Cuál es el significado de la palabra tormenta? ¿Qué significa la palabra nevado? So here again, I have some weather-oriented questions adapted to the level of a Spanish 5-6 class. So this is great. Show me the answers. Show me the answers. Okay, all right, so now I have the answers. Let's quickly double check. Question 4, for example, ¿cuál es el significado de la palabra templado en español? Ni muy caliente ni muy frío. Sí, pues sí. Eso es correcto. ¿Qué significa la palabra granizo en español? Bolitas de hielo que caen del cielo durante una tormenta. So granizo is like a grail, when small balls of ice is falling from the sky. I think it's called grail in English. Yeah, granizo en español. All right, so this was Concluent. This is an appropriate vocabulary test for my Spanish 5-6 class. And see if ChatGPT can simulate an SAT test, which is a standardized test that students take in the United States to kind of like determine which university and colleges they could get access to. So it's a very important test that is very stressful for senior year students, because that could determine their future academic trajectory and which colleges and schools they have access to. So they need to prepare for this test. Okay, so the prompt is this one. Simulate a 45-minute SAT reading comprehension section exam with 10 questions. So let's see. So the reading passage, so obviously a reading comprehension needs to refer to some sort of reading material. So here we go. We have the reading passage right here, The Great Gatsby by Scott Fitzgerald. So we have about like 5-6 paragraphs in my younger and more vulnerable years, blah, blah, blah. So there is the passage, and then we have 10 different questions. These are Q&As. Okay, so what advice did the narrator father give him? To always criticize others freely, to remember that not everyone has had the same advantages. So usually these SAT reading comprehensions are like, the answers are very nuanced. Okay, they are like testing your ability to understand the nuances nuances of what you're reading. So sometimes it's not obvious what the answer is, it's nuanced. So there you go. I'm not going to go through the entire test, but this seems like an appropriate test to test my understanding of this passage right here. If we had more time, I would do this test more thoroughly. But yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised to see that, yeah, it understands what I mean. And if you really want to accomplish this in the best condition, like in the most realistic condition, you could also time yourself. 45 minutes, I think it's very generous for such a small passage. So maybe you could try to do this in 15 minutes. That would be more realistic given the length of this passage right here. I believe an SAT test would give you more than just one passage like this. You could have maybe 4 or 5 of similar length passages. And I think I will leave it here for this lecture about tests and quizzes. Now, in terms of limitation of these practices and tests that ChatGPT can generate for you, the first one is that the questions that it will generate will test basic knowledge recall or memory, not really deep mastery of a topic. The second limitation is that ChatGPT cannot really replicate the full experience of a real standardized exam. You know, when you are passing your ACT or your baccalaureate, if you're French, it's stressing, it's stressful. Like you have studied for weeks, sometimes months to get there, and there's a lot at stakes. So yeah, these conditions cannot be simulated by an AI chatbot. And then the third limitation, or I would say recommendation here, is that you should always use other practice resources as well, combined with ChatGPT, not solely rely on the tests and quizzes generated by ChatGPT to evaluate your knowledge of a topic. So please do not misunderstand me here. Especially if you're one of our younger viewers, you're still at school, you have exams coming, and you're watching this, I am not suggesting that ChatGPT alone will get you through your exams and will help you pass these exams. That's not what I'm saying. Hard work and diligent study are still your tickets to success when it comes to exams. What I am saying, though, is that ChatGPT can be a powerful ally to help you fixate the knowledge, review the topics, the material, and fast track your way to success with these exams.